Now you bumping heads because like you saying, it ain't really space for nobody to determine what's a healthy relationship. Because if I deem dysfunction healthy and you deem healthy, where's the common ground at? And that's what that and like I said, in our community, a lot of times is that we are 5 generations deep into dysfunction to where even if somebody tell you what's healthy, you're gonna reject it because it make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real. And I think too, because of what you just highlighted in terms of that example specifically, where you have someone who is comfortable in dysfunction as someone else who may not be. I think a lot of that too in developing these relationships is you have to look inwardly first.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Father Figure Podcast, man, where we're gonna give you some of the best content in the father figure space on this earth, bro. Welcome again, my homie, my brother, Deontay. What up, bro?
What up? We back for the three-peat, dog.
Man, we in this thing. Consistency, teamwork make the dream work. Consistency and teamwork make the dream work.
Yeah, consistency. Fathers, consistency.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what we need.
My mama been on my ass like, well, you just make sure you stay consistent.
Right.
But nah, we back, man. We definitely appreciate the new followers, the new subscribers, the
No doubt.
the comments, the content, man, is relevant, man. So we want to keep it coming, dog.
Yeah, for sure.
We just gonna jump right in today, man. We got we got a subject that's ain't everything relevant. You know what I'm saying? We're never gonna have some irrelevant content, but we just gonna really talk about cultivating and nurturing relationships and how to sustain and build the relationships, man, that we have as far as fathers and father figures. That's in the crib and outside the crib.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them deals where as men, man, I think that's one of the I ain't gonna say difficulties, but it is kind of difficult based on your upbringing or maybe lack thereof when you are trying to navigate healthy relationships, but you might not have been part of healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So we just want to give some pointers, man, and jump right in, man. We're gonna let you run the point on this one.
Well, man, I mean, it's funny you say that though too about like, you know, you right. I mean, as fathers, shoot, as men, you know, you right. Like it'd be hard, bro, for us to number one, create a healthy relationship, then you have a healthy relationship, then you really don't know how to navigate it, and therefore it falls apart. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Rez, when you was like, yo, you know, you probably didn't grow up in an environment where you knew what that looked like. So you fast forward to being a father, right? You know, you like, man, how do I establish healthy relationships in my home with my wife, with my girlfriend or what have you, with my kids, especially your kids, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy, dog. Like it's not. You be in there tripping by yourself with your own self, like I can't sleep. Goddamn.
Hey, bro. And D, even if you did grow up in a house where you had some healthy relationships,
Right.
it's still different people and different circumstances.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got to think, man, era that we came up in, healthy was dictatorship.
Yeah, and that ain't always.
And that ain't what that is.
Yeah, that ain't always what it is.
And it's not true cultivation all the time. See, sometimes it's good to rule with an iron fist, but sometimes it ain't, just because, you know, it's truly some mental and psychological and spiritual unhealthiness out, especially, man, with access to everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Our generation, and I'm a little bit older than you, we didn't realize how lucky we were that TV went off. that it wasn't no internet or what. And that's just because the psychological warfare that comes through social media or comes through regular media, man, just being able to watch TV all day and all night long. You know what I'm saying, man? Some of this stuff is just purposely perpetuating negativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And comparisons. And, that's one thing that I despise, man, and I try to keep my girls away from is the comparison. Even when they hooping, like, me and you been hooping together since I met you.
Right.
And the competitors that we are, I'm never gonna give you the kind of respect that I see these kids giving each other based on what they see on the internet. You know what I'm saying? You can tell they come in, it's almost a borderline fear.
Yeah.
But that's because, like we speaking on, man, if you don't have healthy communication and a healthy relationship with your girls or your sons or your wives or girlfriends or kids' mother, like, man, the world we living in now will warp your reality.
Yeah, I think too, man. It's like what you said. Even from like just if you looking at this from just a therapy perspective, you got to ask yourself like, what is a healthy relationship? Like,
Yeah.
what does that look like for me? Because for some people, for some fathers, for some men, for some women, for all that matter, that's gonna look different based on what you said, your upbringing.
Yeah.
But I think once you define what a healthy relationship looks like, then you have to kind of set some expectations and some boundaries as to how you gonna cultivate that in your house. And if you don't know how to go about doing that, then how do I learn? How do I grow to that?
That's good. And that's what we was talking about a couple weeks ago is how do I get in the gym
Right.
or how do I get in spaces where I see people who genuinely have healthy relationships and ask them people the questions or, just because, again, in a lot of our communities, dysfunction is normal.
Oh yeah, it's normalized.
It's normalized. So what happens is even if, let's say you got a husband and wife, let's say you got boyfriend, girlfriend, let's say you got whoever you're dealing with and you the mother of your kids or the father of your kids, in our case, the mother of your kids, if as the leaders of our house or, the men, if you trying to implement structure or boundaries, but the other entity relates to dysfunction. Now you bumping heads because like you saying, it ain't really space for nobody to determine what's a healthy relationship. Because if I deem dysfunction healthy and you deem healthy, where's the common ground at? And that's what and like I said, in our community, a lot of times is that we are 5 generations deep into dysfunction to where even if somebody tell you what's healthy, you're going to reject it because it make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real. And I think too, because of what you just highlighted in terms of that example specifically, where you have someone who is comfortable in dysfunction as someone else who may not be. I think a lot of that too in developing these relationships is you have to look inwardly first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to look at what am I bringing to this relationship that is good and or bad, right? And I think in order for those relationships to grow, you got to leave pride at the door. You know what I'm saying? Especially and we can only speak from a father perspective as men, because one of the things I will say, I feel like fathers have the intention usually to say, look, I want to have good relationships with my kids, with their mom and everything. But like I know, Reg, the reality of it is sometimes those intentions are just not good enough.
And man, I was just looking at something, I think it was on the gram, that a lot of times the load on men and the way that we deal with stress, the way that we might deal with anxiety, we deal with anything in this world. If like you said, inwardly, if you haven't dealt with that stuff, bro, it's hard to cultivate healthy relationships outside if I don't really have a healthy relationship inside.
With yourself.
And that relationship sometimes is the relationship that people put on the back burner, especially after you have kids.
Yeah, bro. You can't stop growing.
And then you like we said a couple weeks ago, I gotta know where to grow. I can't just say, look, man, I want somebody to coach me on what healthy looks like or counsel me, and it ain't wise counsel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I think that's what we do is, and especially, and again, I'm not trying to down talk nobody or, I'm going to say this, you know what I'm saying? Don't take it no kind of way.
Controversial.
Right.
Y'all.
You know what I'm saying? But especially our women and our children, they are looking for a comfortable space. And see, sometimes I think that's where the disconnect or the divide is because when you're trying to implement a certain structure or boundaries, it's going to make them uncomfortable. But understanding how to get to those healthy spaces and have healthy relationships, you got to understand that come with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like if you get a new job, whether you qualified or not, it's going to be a space. I don't care whether it's through training or when you first start, doing whatever it is, you're going to be uncomfortable. Even though you might have gotten promoted, right?
Yeah.
You might have just got a promotion. But even in the midst of that promotion, look, I'm the president now and I'm over the department but you have to go through a stage of uncomfortability with that growth.
Yeah. I think too, man. I think I think a big part of that too, in terms of developing those relationships that are healthy in your house is communication.
Oh man, you said it.
Right. I think that is probably the central focus point of how you can start to establish and create these. And let's take our kids, for example, right? Because as a father, especially as a present one, you're going to have some interaction with your kids, and your kids are different. They change, they evolve, even in terms of their emotional intelligence, right? They're still developing that. And you, as a father, you can stunt that growth if you're not careful or you know how to navigate that relationship as well. So if I asked you, Reg, and I say, man, you have girls. And so that's a different ball game in itself because of
teenage girl.
Just because of the estrogen, all of that, the change, all that. How do you navigate those relationships with your daughters from a space where they may require more emotionally, they may require more from a sensitive aspect? How do you navigate that as a father?
Man, like you were saying a second ago, D, it's 100% communication, but it's also how you communicate. See, sometime with boys, even and let me go backwards. So even if I'm coaching boys,
Okay.
you can go in on boys.
Yeah, no doubt.
But with girls, you have to kind of be patient and fill them out. And then not only you fill them out, they have to fill you out. See, with girls, everything is about security. Even, especially with our wives, but having teenage daughters, they need to be secure in what I'm communicating. Right? I'm gonna give you a prime example, man. This happened last night. It's crazy we even talking about this, bro. So Cam, she been kind of sarcastically, you asked her to do something like no. And I know she playing, but I had to tell her last night, like, Cam, I know you joking, but you flirting with being disrespectful. So let's say about 10 minutes later, man, I go in the room and I come out and her and her mama talking and I hear her say something like, well, it'll be worth it. And I thought she was being sarcastic, borderline disrespectful again. So I check her. Like, Cam, I just talked to you about that. I'm trying not to embarrass you. I'm trying not to call you out, but I just asked you. So she stormed out the room. She burned off. And I'm like, what's going on? But the thing was, her and her mama was joking, like literally joking.
Mm-hmm.
And what I heard was just her response that I thought was the same thing. Indeed, this is my right hand to God, man. I go in there, man, and I'm like, Cam, look at me. I need to talk to you, see what's going on. She won't look at me. She won't look up. And I'm like, man, right now you really being disrespectful. You really being ungrateful.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, she just went off. Like, what you mean ungrateful? I got stabbed in my head and you think I'm ungrateful? So now this is the female part. Now everything is emotional. We not even talking about the situation no more. We not talking about nothing. Everything is emotional. So in my advice, and especially even when Kendall become a teenager, this is what I've learned about my girls in the space that we in at 16.
Mm-hmm.
I knew then, like, man, I need to give her 5 or 10 minutes, relax, get her thoughts together.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, if I keep pushing based on her emotional state, and it's the difference between boys. See, if that's a boy, I'm just gonna check him.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful with that too. But go ahead.
Well, no, I'm gonna check him on the disrespect part.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
I'm gonna handle him. I'm not gonna check him to the point where we going back and forth.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to immediately probably put my son in place.
Mm-hmm.
But with Camden and with girls, it's just like our wives. When there's a misunderstanding, that thing just gonna keep getting wider and longer and wider. So I'm like, okay, let me give her about 5 or 10 minutes and relax. So I go back in the room about 10 minutes later, D. And I'm explaining to her, like, first of all, we can never distort our relationship. I'm your father, you're my daughter. So whether we have a misunderstanding or not, because Tiffany explained to me that they was joking and this, that, and the third. I'm like, you know what? Tell me what the mantra of the father figure movement is. She's like, I don't know what you mean. You know, still got a little stinking ass attitude. Like, I don't know what you mean.
She don't want to talk about that, bro.
But for me, I needed it to make sense to her. Is like, okay, be present. She like, not perfect. I'm like, okay. I misunderstood what was going on, and I'm willing to take fault at that. But we can never distort the relationship between father and daughter. Just because we have a misunderstanding does not mean you get to be disrespectful. It does not mean that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to bite the bullet and tell you, like, look, I kind of jumped the gun. I didn't know you and your mom was playing. Me and you just had a conversation about you being borderline disrespectful. But at no point does that give you the green light to be disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, now we started to get some understanding. We ain't all in our emotions. We ain't, because what happens is with them, when they get emotional, they get irrational. Same thing with my old lady. But
I hope Tiff ain't watching this.
she is. Don't be watching. But you know, but
If it wasn't me, it wasn't me. That's Reg by himself.
But that's the thing, and D, this is what a lot of cats can't relate to, is being in the house with 3 almost grown women. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's just the reality of it, man. Sometimes I got to go sit out on the back porch or go out in the garage like, man, it is way too much estrogen and way too many emotions in this house right now.
Yeah. I think for me, man, and of course my kids, I have a son and Kendall, they're a lot younger than the twins, but what I've learned about myself and about my kids at the same time is that the way that I communicate to them is different, right? And there's some ways that I communicate to them that's just not okay for them. Not saying that I mistreat my kids, because I love my kids to death, but what I really realized, like, even to, let's use Bryce as a boy. Like, yeah, Bryce can absorb a tough message better than Kendall, but it impacts him just the same. And I figured that out because as strong as Bryce is, underneath that boy is he tenderhearted. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I started thinking about it and I said, man, I don't want to as his father, yes, I want him to get this stuff. I want him to do these things. You know, I want to establish some boundaries and set some ground rules and whatnot. But I'm like, at the same time, I don't want to be so on to the point where I suppress his ability to feel, and out of frustration, he forgets how to communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it puts some ownership on me to say, and I asked him like, man, do you feel like I'm on you too tough? And Bryce so cool, chill breeze, like, nah, it's cool. Like, nah, bro, like, nah, for real, tell me, you know what I'm saying? And so when I think about that, man, and I think this goes for a lot of fathers, I'm sure a lot of fathers can relate. I'll say it that way. Man, especially when you have multiple kids, like your kids are different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? No matter that they come from you and their mom, they still have different personalities. There's different things that impact them. There's different things that they're sensitive to versus not being sensitive to. And I think, and I guess the best thing I can say is one shoe doesn't fit all.
Indeed, that's even if they came out at the same time.
You know what I'm saying?
See, a lot of people would,
Yeah.
And again, I was guilty of that because you got to think, as toddlers, pretty much everything is the same. You know, they hadn't developed no personalities. They don't really have many differences. They eating the same food, they wearing the same clothes. You know what I'm saying? All that type of stuff. So especially as a father of girls, that kind of spoils you a little bit because you're like, oh man, I got this, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like
Set you up for the okie doke, boy.
man, they got about 11 or 12.
He like, what
is going on? Like, hold on. They don't want to dress alike. They don't want to.
Yeah.
This one got a little stinking ass attitude. This one, you know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, what is going on? Why y'all ain't the same?
Yeah, right.
But like you say, that's part of the evolution of fatherhood and being a father figure, man, is that at no point should we ever stop growing? Should we ever stop evolving? And should we ever stop learning our children and our spouses or our girlfriends? Like, man, see, a lot of times that's the part that really trickles down to the children, is that the adults don't think that we supposed to evolve, or we stop maintaining or maintaining our relationship.
Yeah.
To the point where it starts affecting the kids, because and personal scenario, when you go through a traumatic incident like we went through, it automatically veers your attention 100% to the kids. But then a couple of years into that, you looking like shit. What man? We ain't been on a date in 2 years. We ain't.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, that's the intentionality of saying, regardless, and I don't want to seem insensitive to my own situation, you still have to stop and reprioritize the relationships. You know what I'm saying? Because at no point should fatherhood or motherhood trump husband and wife. It should never happen that way. I'm just talking about married people now.
Yeah.
If the marriage is not the top priority, then everybody gonna suffer.
Yeah. You said something that I think is very important, man. I mean, very important. And you talked about us growing and evolving. And I think even as parents, as fathers, I think you have to evolve with every season and every stage of your child's life. Yeah, it's easy to kind of transition in and out right now when they're young, but as they're growing into teenagers and then one day into as adults, you have to even look at your role as a parent. That changes, it shifts.
100%.
Right? Like you grow up with your child having this precedence in your home. Like, of course, they're going to listen to instructions. They're going to, in a sense, obey, be obedient, different things like that. And I think where sometimes parents or fathers, what have you, miss the mark is when their child becomes an adult or becomes of age where they have some awareness. We're still operating from that space. And it's like, yo, you going down a dead end because you going to clash at one point because that child is like, yo, you've taught me everything that you could teach me. Now I need you there as support and as a guide to walk alongside of me. You know what I'm saying?
And D, that's the thing about and this is one of the things and I hope don't nobody steal this our content. Uh, but see, a lot of times, man, we are groomed, and even generationally, we are groomed that the foundation is the most important part of manhood and fatherhood, and making sure you got a solid foundation, and it's not. Let's take when you and Erica just recently built a house, right? So, as important as the foundation is, if there's no structure and no boundaries, then that means people just coming out there and pouring concrete anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Even when they put in the driveway, when they put in any of the foundation, it starts with structure and boundaries.
Yeah.
Once they know what your property line is, how big your crib gonna be, they go out there and put down boundaries and structure. Then they pour you a solid foundation. And a lot of times, just like what you were speaking to, our kids should go off into the world, even biblically, when it says raise a child up in the way that they should go, and they'll never depart from you. That's about boundaries and structure.
Right.
You know, they may go out of bounds or get out of that structure every now and then, but they always gonna come back to it, because even outside of the foundation, you've given them proper you've given them proper structure and proper boundaries. And that's all we talking about. Even, like you were saying with Bryce, man, see, it's a difference between being firm and being hard. See, we grew up in a generation where we just had to be hard, or we grew up under hard rulership. Like, man, look, get on up, shake it off. I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was.
He said rulership.
That's what it was, bro. When you don't have.
That's how it felt, though, didn't it?
But no, bro. This is the thing, D. Listen to me. Sometimes it amazes me how often I let my girls ask me why. You know what I'm saying? But that's about a healthy relationship, because even if I'm telling them to do something, or if I'm instructing them, or if I'm giving them some advice, man, I lived in a house where why was worse than a cuss word.
I'm gonna ask you something that's gonna be funny, because you just brought it up. I'm gonna ask you something. So now that you say that, and it's gonna be a little bit off topic, but it's good for the podcast. So you said why was almost a cuss word.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel like it's disrespectful if your girl say that's a lie or you lying?
Hell yeah. Hey, come on, man. Like,
I don't.
Well, no, and let me tell you, that's part of my evolution. Now at 16, and then hold on, let me be 100. It's all about what context you say it in.
Hey, for the viewers out there, I want y'all to chime in on this, because this is a healthy debate.
Hey,
go ahead.
Listen, if let's say we having, again, a misunderstanding or a disagreement, and you turn around and tell me I'm a lie, oh, we got a problem.
Hold on, though. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a scenario. Let's say you having that disagreement, and you ain't telling the story quite right?
Yeah.
You ain't 100% truthful, right?
Yeah.
And they don't call you a lie, but they say, well, that wouldn't be. That's a lie. That's you lying, right? Now, if I'm gonna take it there, this is my philosophy on this, bro. Me and Erica had a whole debate on this, and she actually agreed with what I'm saying. What does the Bible call it?
What did the Bible call it?
A lie.
A lie. They
Right.
call it a lie.
Right.
Yeah.
And it ain't no cuss word either. It's just you lying. It just sound bad, don't it?
But I'm gonna tell you. So I'm gonna give you a scenario. This is a real life scenario, just like you saying.
Man, it's not
we
respectful.
We saying something, and it ain't I'm not saying it's disrespectful. It just come off a little. Again, it's about respecting the boundaries and the relationship. So,
but it ain't a cuss word.
It ain't a cuss word. Neither is why. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I still don't want to. So we doing something, man, and they turn around. We not even into it. They turn around like, no, he lying. Like, hold on, what? Like, hold on, I'm doing what?
Red, that's some stuff we as black people done made up, in my opinion, right? Because I'm like, look, like they say, if his mama call him Clay, I'm gonna call him Clay. If God say it ain't, it's lying. That's what it is. It's lying.
D, hold on. Look, I'm finna bag you in the corner.
Okay, go
Like
ahead.
they call a donkey a ass in the Bible. So if Bryce and Kendall like, Mama, it was ass in the street.
mean-
Sometimes it's not even about it's not even about the context or the sometimes it's about the tone and it's about, even with the word no. See, sometimes, man, like if you got a little attitude and you like no, like hold on, who are you talking to? Like who are you talking to? You know what I'm saying? So it's certain triggers in the parent child relationship. Like I don't even mind. I don't care if you say no, but if your tone is like no, like hold on. What are we talking about?
And I get what you're saying, man. And I'm not saying that to be like, yo, you got to let kids just run wild, because I don't believe that. But I do believe that there's a certain level of fairness that we have to have even when we communicating with them, because it's like, I give you an example. It's like you and I may get this, but not all parents do. It's like it's okay for us as fathers or parents to have a bad day.
Yeah.
And respond to our kids maybe negatively, right? I've seen parents literally, bro, respond to their child like they ain't shit, right?
Yeah.
But if they give you that same energy, then it's a problem. And so I think, just like we were talking last week when I said, hey, I can't teach my son or teach my kids how to manage money if I'm mismanaging money. Yeah. I can't teach my kids or even discipline them about how they communicate if I don't learn how to communicate with them properly.
No, that's 100%, man. Just because, especially as fathers, man, like I said, we bear a lot of the burden of this world.
Yeah, no doubt.
And sometimes, man, you do come home and take that out on your old lady or take that out on your kids, and especially being in the house with all females, man. Sometimes, like I say, everybody know that it's a dog in the house, but you don't know what kind of dog until it show his teeth or it lock his jaws, or like, oh, okay, this is a pit bull. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about fatherhood that makes it different sometimes, because and I don't know if this was Sarah Jakes or somebody, but see, sometimes when a woman has a bad day, we automatically just attribute that to maybe she on her cycle, or maybe she going through some stuff. But when a man have a bad day, like, oh, what's wrong with him, man? He tripping. And that's just because, like you say, it goes back to the initial subject. When you trying to cultivate and build a healthy relationship, even if it is with your children, we have to understand, like you were saying, the respect works both ways, but it still has to be in the context of a parent-child relationship. And that's where I think sometimes the kids kind of flirt and they push the line. And that's what that go back to what you're saying with the word lie or why or no or whatever it is. I just don't want you to push the line, because for me, if you talking to me in the same context I hear you talking to your sister or your peers, that's where I got the problem.
Yeah.
Like I'm not one of your classmates.
Man, and that's a whole nother topic, because we was talking about that the other day. But I think it goes back to what I said initially, right? You establish whatever your boundaries are and whatever your expectations is for your household. But I also believe too, you have to mirror what you expect.
Yeah.
Like with your children, like you can't, it's like I cannot stand the term, do as I say, but not as I do. And I think that goes even to relationships, right? You can't expect for your child to create or establish or to even follow the rules of a certain relationship when you don't do that. And I think that's our responsibility, right? To mirror what we expect from our kids, right? Yeah, I'm gonna set boundaries. I want to be respected. I want to have that honor. So guess what? I'm going to respect you as my child. I'm going to even honor you as my child because I want you to know that you're valuable.
Yeah.
You're worth it. Like, so when you leave this house, you can be like, yo, I know what honor looks like because my father honored me all the time as my daughter or as my son, as his daughter or as his son.
No, that's good. So D, as we wrap it up, man, let's each individually, what would be one piece of advice, man, you would give any father or father figure on building healthy, sustainable relationships with the kid's mother, your wife, and the children themselves?
Yeah, I think that's good, man. That's a good space for call of actions, man. And I would say for me, it would be to reflect and listen. I think that's a good space for all of us, mothers included, to reflect and listen. And what I mean by that is, man, always the reflect piece is always be willing to turn that mirror around and say, hey, where are my blind spots? Where am I missing an opportunity to grow or improve the relationship? From a listening perspective, man, I would say it's just listening with the intent to understand. I think that's a perfect example. What you highlighted with your girls, right? You had a conversation with the twin, with your girl, and you caught the tail end of it, right? And it just prompted you to react. And I think in that moment you'll be like, man, I didn't really have a full picture of what was going on. And I think that would be the thing that I would give advice to in terms of someone who says, hey, I want to establish some healthy relationships in my home.
Yeah, man. And I think I would tell fathers and father figures, man, cultivate the relationships with the people that you're in a relationship with. And I know that sometimes we cultivate relationships with who we want our wives to be or who we want our kids to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good too.
And a lot of times, bro, that causes a disconnect because it doesn't give them a true opportunity to live up to whatever standard you holding them to. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to be in a relationship. That's just like if you and I go hoop, I can't go out there and ask like, D, why you didn't dunk on him? Like, bro, when the last time you seen me dunk?
I'm Reggie Miller. All layups.
You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I done hit 8 jumpers in a row.
Right.
Why you keep asking me to dunk?
I got a great layup package.
You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I think that's what we do. And I've been guilty of it, man. Yeah. A lot of times is do you know me, man? I have an entrepreneurial spirit, man. I have a visionary spirit, man. I like building stuff. And sometimes my wife and my kids don't really understand it from the standpoint of giving gratitude or patting me on the back because it just don't resonate with them. But I hold them to the standard, like, I need y'all to see what I see. And man, I heard E.T. Eric Thomas say this. He's like, man, just because you marry a person or just because you have children does not make your vision their vision. It's just like it's just like going to the eye doctor and get prescribed some glasses and then asking your wife, like, why you can't see out of them? Mm-hmm. Asking your kids, why you can't see out of them? And a lot of times that's what my advice would be. Cultivate the relationships that you're in, not the relationships that you want to be. Because if you cultivate the relationship that you're in, then it may evolve into what you want it to be.
It should.
Because it comes with healthy communication. It comes with growth. It comes with evolution, but it also comes with grace. Mm-hmm. Give them grace because, like you saying, because you want grace.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's one thing that's extremely difficult for me, bro. Is sometimes, man, I ain't gonna lie, I be on my old lady and kids. I be on their ass, nigga. And I done said, nigga,
This boy done got all the way comfortable.
you know what I'm saying?
We on YouTube.
We
good.
on YouTube. They don't.
We good. We good.
But no, I really do. And sometimes, bro, I have to remind myself, like, Reg, you mashing the gas for no reason. Why you mashing the gas? And especially when it comes to my daughters, like, see, I can mash the gas a little bit on Cam, but Kennedy,
You got to ask yourself too, why am I mashing this gas like this?
well, sometimes it's necessary. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you want, all of us should want the best for our children. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that comes with pushing them a little harder than they want to be pushed. And not in a negative aspect, but if you want, let's say Bryce come to you and say, Dad, I want to be on the A honor roll. I want to get all A's. That means it has to come with some different accountability and some different responsibility. So you may have to push him away from the game, or you may have to push him away. Like, son, you told me you want all A's. Daddy didn't come to you and say, look, you have to get all A's. No, you came to me and told me you want to get all A's.
Mm-hmm.
So now as a father, you have to hold him accountable for the goal he set for himself.
Yeah. But you know what, man? And I know we wrapping it up. Even that's a good example, because I even had to learn that with Bryce, even from a athletic perspective, even transitioning over into what you're talking about, even with school. One of the things I learned is that no matter how much I push him, he has to want to do it.
There you go.
And when I got that revelation for myself, it helped me to let my foot off the gas, because not that I wouldn't hold him accountable, but I also said, okay, I can instruct you and tell you this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to get up and say, hey, son, go put your game up, go do that. Hey, son, go outside, hit the baseball, go catch how many. Like, I'm not going to do any of that, because if you communicate to me that I want to go do something, then I have to allow you to experience the experience of succeeding and failing so that it can teach you, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I thought that was a really good analogy, man, because a lot of times as fathers, it's innate in us to just push and provide and to make sure our kids are okay. But I think part of being a really, really good father is taking your hands off a little bit to say, hey, you gotta experience and figure this out.
And then keeping them from, a lot of times we try to save them from their, and I'm not going to say failures all the time, because there's some spaces where we need to protect them from failure, but we shouldn't protect them from hardships or protect them from disappointment.
Yeah, because you robbed them of an opportunity to learn.
Right. So that's the thing. Like, if your kid is just going to fail at something, and especially if it's something that they unfamiliar with, or they, let's say your kid is, struggling in math or struggling in, it might be a true to life struggle.
Right.
So it ain't our job to just let them fail.
Mm-hmm.
But if they choose not to do the homework, if they choose not to pay attention in class, like, man, that's your disappointment.
That's your grade.
When you get that F, that's your disappointment.
And here's the consequences of that.
But D, like I'm saying, and especially like as young as your kids are, you still in the foundational structure boundary phase.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So once you implement the structure, this is when we do our homework. This is where we do our homework. This is my expectation for you. This, that, and the third. Now you get to do what we do with 16-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, look, I ain't finna sit up here and beg you to do no homework, especially not as student athletes. Like, man, look, your disappointment come twofold, because not only is it grade wise, now you got to sit at the house and watch your friends play ball. But D, we gonna wrap up right there, and I think it's all of these subjects, man. We gonna touch on them 100 times in different scenarios, man. We're gonna start kind of bringing in some guests to touch on this stuff as well, man. But I think it's It's a great subject, man, and I'm hoping we help some fathers and some father figures, man. Again, reach out to Deontay, reach out to myself, man. We can give you some more pointers, or maybe y'all can give us some pointers, man. Put that in the comments, put it in the in our Instagram, whatever the case may be, man. But make sure y'all tapped in, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, man. You see my boy got the dope father figure hoodie on. I like that boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We got the new concept on, man. Be present plus active minus perfect equals a father figure.
Y'all see this boy being here with new gear on every week.
Hey, I think he was a little salty in the beginning, y'all. I ain't even
bit, but it's all good.
Right off. But man, again, man, we appreciate y'all for tapping in, man. My boy Deontay Miller, Reggie George, it's the Father Figure Podcast, man. Y'all stay tapped in. Peace.